Hello and welcome everyone to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott and we are back here with another Friday night's big preview for a Saturday night's main event. We're going to break down the card. It's not a big one at the moment, but we're going to be talking about the matches in depth. We'll be talking rumors. We're going to be talking kind of possible surprises and how that may shape up road to WrestleMania. But before that, of course, we've got the Royal Rumble as well. We're going to be talking all about that right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so once again, thank you so much for joining me this time round. And for those that have been here before, this is, again, Friday night's big preview where we do exactly that, preview the big show this weekend, of course, which is Saturday night's main event. I say big show, there's not a lot going on as far as the amount of matches, but still some big matches to break down. And again, ones that have implications for the road to WrestleMania and, of course, the Royal Rumble, which is only a week away. Look, we're going to be back doing a build-up show for Saturday night's main event. But before we do, thought we'd jump on and do our Friday night's big preview as well. Of course, we're a few hours away from SmackDown, so if you're watching this on demand, SmackDown hasn't happened in my timeline. So apologies if any major news has broke since this is being recorded and you watching it. But for those joining live, hey, welcome in. Let me know what you think is going to happen this weekend, and let me know what you're most looking forward to as well. Always great to have your thoughts and opinions on this as well. Got a few of you in the chat already. Kieran's here. How you doing, buddy? Hope you are doing well. Sludge is in the house as well. Says hello. And Kieran also says, want to see the photos I got from SmackDown. Oh, that'd be cool, buddy. Yeah. So, send them over. RM Pro Wrestling on X, and we'll have a little look at those, or Instagram if you are on there at RM Pro Wrestling. And again, anyone that wants to follow us on those socials as well. But look, you're here on the YouTube, or you may be joining us on Twitch tonight. But again, either way, we appreciate you. And what we're going to do now is dive into the card itself. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, forgive me, it's not a big card at the moment. Again, at time of recording, there are only 3 matches on this card. But I do think there are important matches, again, when it comes to the landscape of WWE and what we might see going forward. So there's so much to dive into, even though the card is quite minimal. It's crazy, really. You know, we talked for months, well, years now on this channel about the 5-match card. Now, sometimes they even toy around with 4 matches. At the moment, we don't even have that. So let's see what happens. Maybe on SmackDown, we'll get some more matches made again. But it feels like they are making these Saturday night's main events smaller and smaller. I don't even know how many they've got planned after this. Of course, the Peacock deal has ended in the form that it was before, at least. You know, it's continued as far as, they're part of NBC, and it's this NBC shows, historically Saturday night's main event anyway. So it's nice for it to continue in that form, but I don't know if this was a kind of a deal that's going to go on much longer. You guys watching live in the comments, whether on demand as well, maybe you'll know. Let me know. But look, we've got a Saturday night's main event to sink our teeth into in January of 2026 at least. And again, it's a bit weird, right? It's a week away from the Royal Rumble. Remember they did this last year on quite a few occasions. I think they did it before the Rumble, I believe just before Survivor Series as well. There might have been another one. I know there were a few in 2025, but there might have been another one before Big PLE last year as well. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it, because sometimes I feel like it's a nice stepping stone for the Big PLE. But at the same time, I also feel like it gets in the way. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree, but it feels like in some ways we're not really in Rumble season, which, look, don't get me wrong, means Saturday night's main event gets focus as well. It doesn't get forgotten. It's not just an afterthought, but at the same time, does it damage the Royal Rumble, or does it help the Royal Rumble? I mean, we've got a big match on this card that is gonna certainly lead into the Royal Rumble, which again will therefore lead into what happens at WrestleMania. So the road to WrestleMania in some ways kind of starts with Saturday night's main event. So again, it's really hard to know what WWE see these events as these days. Part of me likes the format they've got. Part of me thinks it needs a little bit tweaking. But either way, look, we've got a fun show to break down as well. Kieran, I see you said your X isn't working at the moment, but you're trying to send them over later. No problem, buddy. Again, or Instagram at RM Pro Wrestling. Probably easier inbox wise on X. But good, yeah, be great to see your SmackDown pictures. Hopefully, if you get them through by the time of the build-up show, we might be able to share some of those on tomorrow's stream. Or if you're watching on Saturday, you might be seeing this on that stream, because we do replay this on the beginning or the earlier part, I should say, of the build-up show. What's the build-up show, I hear you ask? The build-up show is what we do on the night of a PLE. Again, we're here at the moment for Friday night's big preview to get you in the mood for the big weekend, but on the night of a PLE, and of course, don't get me wrong, I know technically speaking, Saturday night's main event isn't a PLE, but it kind of sort of is, right? On nights of PLEs, or special events at least, we do build-up shows as well. And the build-up show is where we get you guys and us hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE, just hours away from it as well. So if you haven't already, subscribe, and you'll get that link in your notifications if you press the little bell as well. So stay tuned for that. But basically, we talk last-minute rumors. We kind of get other members of the Rebellious Noise panel on, and of course we always try and get some other friends from the wrestling media world as well. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then join us on Saturday night. But hey, look, we're here for a Friday night's big preview first of all, and let's preview the show itself. Let's talk a little bit about that card. Again, it's not a big one, don't get me wrong, but again, it's one that may have major implications for WrestleMania, or at least the near future, of course, with the Royal Rumble. First of all, though, we can talk about the women's tag team match here. We've got Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. Now, this match here, of course, is really picked up in recent weeks. Rhiyo is the name they're going by now, which is always a bit confusing because it makes me think of the women's wrestler in AEW before. Very similar name, basically, Rhiyo. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? I hope you get what I'm saying. Anyway, this, of course, is for the tag team titles of the women's division. You've got the champions in Rhiyo. No, Rhiyo, not Rhiyo. That's the other one. Defending up against two women from the Judgment Day, of course, Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. Now, both of those have held tag team gold before, representing the Judgment Day, but not together. Both of them have held them with Raquel Rodriguez. Now, she herself is busy looking for singles gold at the moment, and that could play into what is going on here. I mean, it feels a little bit strange to me, guys. I don't know if you agree, but I'm not quite sure what Liv Morgan's game is here, and I don't think we're going to find out on Saturday night's main event, but it feels like something is going on here with Liv Morgan and the Judgment Day. She was very, very, I guess, positive for these other girls in the group. So Roxanne and Raquel, of course, she was again teaming with Raquel before. She wanted Roxanne. She didn't want Roxanne in before. She goes away, comes back, Roxanne's there, fine. So I think that's going to bubble under the surface for a little bit more before it explodes. But it seemed like she was trying to get them to go back after the gold, even though she was the kind of rightful owner because she had the title with Raquel before she got injured, as I say. So it was a bit strange when they took Raquel completely out of it and they put Roxanne back in it. I guess it's not strange in the sense that the one that she might have a problem with is the one that she's working closely with now. So if there's going to be a turn, it'll be impactful in that sense. But at the same time, yeah, it was weird. It was like she was pushing the other two and she was going to do the solo run, but no, it isn't the case anymore. She's now very much involved in the tag team division and again, going after the tag team championships. Now, as I say, they're going up against a formidable team in themselves. Look, it's Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, a great duo, great individuals, of course, two of the best wrestlers in the entire world as a team. Quite fun as well. I think what they've been doing over the past few months has worked quite well, especially with the Asuka and Kairi Sane storyline and Rhea Ripley kind of pulling Io away from their grasp, essentially. Nice little friendship, or maybe more. I've said this time and time again on this channel. There is definitely something more, in my opinion, but they're just not saying it on air. Let me know if you're kind of feeling that as well. But yeah, I felt like it since the very start of this storyline. And it definitely in recent weeks, I felt even more that way. But anyway, they're tag team champions, maybe more, maybe not. Either way, again, I think this is going to be an interesting match because it might play into, again, these issues that the Judgment Day see themselves in. Now, it's not just these two, of course, as far as the women. You've also got, the third woman in that, but you've also got the men's side of things where Finn looks a little bit annoyed as well. Of course, recently in Belfast, he went up against WWE World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk. Didn't quite pick up the victory as expected, to be honest, but still a pretty decent showing and a lot of respect shown by CM Punk at the very end. Now, you could say that's because it was on the island of Ireland and it was all about him, but he came out in the babyface music. And again, you could say it was because of that as well, but I think there's something in that. You know, he was backstage. I think it was Liv again who was basically saying, like, what are you going to do, Finn? You know, we're going to have tag team gold. What are you going to do? And he was kind of like, you know, you'll see almost. I don't know if he said something like that or if it was just in his look, but I remember feeling that was kind of what he was conveying at least. Look, he didn't win the title, but there's something going on there, surely. You know, it looks like Finn might be breaking away from the Judgment Day as well. So, which is a shame. I really enjoy Judgment Day, even, you know, the fact that it's nothing like the original Judgment Day or even version 2 of the Judgment Day. This is definitely the third kind of side of the Judgment Day, which I'm still enjoying, by the way, you know. So, it'd be interesting to see where they go with this and if they do split the team up. But it does kind of lean into this match a little bit here because if it's now, then yeah, clearly the girls from the Judgment Day are not picking up the gold. If it's not now, then they could pick up the gold and they could break further down the line. So this is actually quite a tough one for me to predict. I mean, I want to go with Rhea and Io because they're not, you know, they haven't held the titles for long. And I think there's more story to tell here. But at the same time, I feel like WWE are going to be tempted to put Rhea Ripley at least in a singles match at WrestleMania. And I don't think they should. I don't think they should shoehorn it in. I think what they've got here with Io and Rhea together is quite good. So I think they should run with that. And maybe, you know, that maybe this feud continues towards WrestleMania or something like that. And maybe that's where the split happens between the Judgment Day. I don't know. But I don't think it's necessary to split either team up just yet. I think both will inevitably be split up. It's just which one's going to happen first. It's not going to be Rhea and Io just yet. Maybe one turns on the other and they face each other at WrestleMania, which would be, again, a shame. It would be more if Rhea turned a heel. I was thinking recently, Rhea being a heel is kind of missed. As much as I like her babyface work, I thought, was she due a heel turn? Let me know what you think, guys. Do you think Rhea Ripley should be turning heel? But again, I like what they're doing together. So, but her turning on Io will, I mean, if Io wasn't a top star already, the way they're presenting in the past few years, I think she really has kind of climbed up the ranks. And, you know, they're really, really positive, you know, on the commentary. You know, Michael Cole constantly says how she's one of the best wrestlers in the world. It doesn't matter if she's a woman. We're not talking in the women's, you know, kind of division. We're talking just wrestler, full stop. So they're really, really pushing Io Sky in that sense. Rhea Ripley is a massive star for them already anyway. So, yeah, Rhea turning on Io would be massive, but there's a lot of money in Rhea, you know, and that's what I think a lot of times it comes down to when it comes to baby faces. Do you really want to give that up as well? Look, we've dove all over the place and we've gone a little bit further in the future with booking and heel turns and stuff like that. Let's bring it back to the match at hand itself. So again, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky tag team champions defending against Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. I don't actually think we're going to get a title change here. Look, there's going to be something happening in what I assume is the main event, the Fatal 4-Way, which is not for a title, but like, I was going to say as good as, but next best thing, if you will, within the division at least, of that number one contendership, you know, going towards the Royal Rumble. So that'll be a big moment and probably a feel-good moment as well. I haven't even thought about these predictions as I start blabbering here, actually. So I might get caught out on that one as well. But I'm going to say because of that, there's not going to be a title change here. So for me, the Judgment Day ladies are going to come away from this sore. But will they be sore losers? I don't know. And will Liv Morgan be frustrated and she turns on Roxanne? I mean, she'd kind of have to be turning babyface, right? If she's turning against the Judgment Day. And I don't feel like that's the case. They kind of toyed around with that when she jumped into Cena's arms and slapped Dominic Mysterio, but that was all a ruse. So to kind of give up on that already feels a bit quick. So yeah, I don't see that happening just yet anyway. But I do think that's probably where they're going to go with it eventually. But as I say, when it comes to Saturday night's main event, when it comes to the women's tag team titles, I think Rhea Ripley and Io Sky will probably retain. Look, the women's tag team division is one that's constantly been, you know, one that gets thrown together stars, you know, like not actual tag teams. But a lot of times they do end up working quite well. So, and again, there's an interesting story being told here. You could argue the same thing with the Judgment Day, but at least they're a stable, and maybe going to be splitting up, but at the moment I'm liking what they're doing anyway. So let's see what happens with this one. But hey, I want to know what you guys are most looking forward to on this event. Is the Women's Tag Team Championship match one of the most exciting matches? To say one of the most exciting, there's only a few options for you, but is it one of the matches you're most looking forward to? To me, it is. It's the second most. Number one, we'll talk about at the end, and number three, I should say, we'll move on to in just a moment, which is crazy to say because it is a mega star, and I'm not talking LA Knight, no, because it's not him in this match. It is, of course, Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. Now, this is a very strange match, guys, because look, we've got babyface Cody Rhodes and kind of babyface still Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, of course, returned a few weeks back inadvertently. It would seem, at least, cost Cody Rhodes the title, but then he's got that kind of character where he's just like, I don't care, like I'm here for my business, don't really care that I got in the way, whatever, we clashed, it is what it is. If you haven't already, check out mine and Lucas's instant reaction to that very moment on this channel, where of course Jacob Fatu, as I say, cost Cody Rhodes the title, and as a result, Drew McIntyre, as you can see, gets away with championship gold in Europe. And we'll be touching more on that, of course, as we get throughout the next few weeks, as we head to Royal Rumble, Chamber, and then WrestleMania. It's a big few months for Drew. Will he still be involved come Mania? We'll have to see. A lot of contradictory reports and rumors going around at the moment, so we'll have to see where we go there. But look, Cody Rhodes isn't involved in that just yet, and he's got a little bit of a side quest, and as I say, it is to go after the man who technically cost him, and that's Jacob Fatu. Now, in some ways, I like it because we're moving Cody away from the main event. And that's not a diss to Cody, but like it freshens things up essentially. It doesn't need to be in the title match all the time, doesn't be number one contendership all the time, but you'd imagine he's going to get back there pretty soon. So look, we'll take it while we got it, and yeah. The thing that's a little bit weird about it is, as I say, Jacob Fatu, he left as a massive babyface. They'd only just turned him babyface. Naturally, it turned. And now you've got this awkward situation where he's come back and he's cost the biggest babyface. Again, his character plays into that, where he's kind of just for himself, and a little bit of a Steve Austin type character where you can be a bit of a tweener. He's not going to come out, shaking hands, kissing babies, but he could be a good guy in his own right. But that will mean he's still got his flaws and he's still got his kind of temper and stuff like that. And that's what they've kind of played into here. And we've seen that in the past, two baby faces not get along. But I think there is a risk here with Jacob Fatu because he'd spent not that long as a babyface. Like I say, he naturally turned, in my opinion. But I guess if you were to officially put him in the babyface column, as they sometimes do, it seems as right as backstage, I don't think he would have been in it for long. And now I think he's at risk of slipping straight back out of it because he's going after the babyface hero that is Cody Rhodes. Now, the thing about Cody Rhodes is people will start to turn and get a bit sick of him. But I think there's a lot of appreciation. If he's in the right feud and the right story, I think he still is over with everyone, essentially. But if he had beat Drew a few weeks back, then that would have been a bit problematic for me. Didn't happen. Again, go back and watch my original reaction to that to see how overjoyed I was for many reasons, because it shakes things up for the title picture going into WrestleMania. But as I say, Cody is not in that. Jacob Fatu, you'd imagine, would want to be in that because of Drew as well. So there's a lot of kind of, stuff up in the air, essentially. But at the moment, they're both away from it. And what we've got is a one-on-one. It's kind of tough to pick who would win it, because if you go for Cody Rhodes, then Cody Rhodes loses the title. Then he loses to Jacob Fatu, the guy that I guess accidentally in some way still cost him the title. And then he goes into the Royal Rumble. Look, Royal Rumble chat we'll dive into. I want to talk to the rest of the panel from Rebellious Noise and, of course, some of our friends from the wrestling media world who are no doubt going to join us on that great stream as well, the build-up stream for the Royal Rumble. But there is a feeling that Cody Rhodes could become a triple-time winner, 3 in a row, and do a three-peat. Look, again, we'll dive into that on Rumble preview stuff, but it kind of is relevant here because is that what we're seeing? Him losing a big match, him losing again, and then he has to do something big at the Rumble. Or you could do the same story, really. He loses, and then he loses, and then he loses at the Rumble, which I think is probably more likely. I hope, anyway. So if they're going to tell that story of him not quite like he's really confident he's going to do it again and he doesn't do it again, he has to find another way to get into a big match at WrestleMania, then I think that's an interesting story to tell. We've had similar before. Remember when Undertaker refused Shawn Michaels rematch for WrestleMania 26 from 25, and at the time Taker was the champ, and Shawn thought, well, if I win the Rumble, then I'm going to get to face Taker. Shawn gets eliminated, and then Shawn costs Taker that title, so that Taker's angry enough, which was brilliant. Mwah! Storytelling as if the matches themselves weren't enough. But yeah, we could get something here where someone's desperate to win a Rumble, or maybe too cocky, in Cody Rhodes, and doesn't do it. So to set that up, maybe you go into it with like, he's just lost 2 big matches. Can he do it? But he's still overly confident, and then after that says, look, I was on a losing streak. What was I thinking? So maybe that's the story they tell here. Because again, I do think it ties into the Rumble a little bit. Maybe they take each other out at the Rumble as well, and we continue this feud. But if the Rumble wasn't happening, I'd say Cody Rhodes is winning. Cody Rhodes doesn't lose the title and then lose the match straight after that, in my opinion. But the Rumble really does kind of put a little bit of a fork in the road and make it a little bit tricky as far as kind of which turning we take on this road to WrestleMania. So, you know what? I'm going to knuckle down and I'm going to say Jacob Fatu, because I think he needs to look strong as well coming back, to be fair. You could argue that. But at the same time, beating the hero, costing the hero and beating the hero, unless they shake hands at the end of it to show he's still a good guy, he didn't mean it. I don't know. Do they do that? I'm really not sure. But I'm gonna go Jacob Fatu. I'm gonna say Jacob Fatu is gonna win it, and they're gonna tell this story with Cody, so that Jacob looks strong. But maybe because maybe they just give up on the Jacob Fatu babyface thing. Maybe they just go back to him being a heel, and then eventually turns back naturally again. But it's crazy because they built up so much momentum with him last time, and then of course he went away, and it's people are excited to see him back. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the story I think you'd expect to tell. It's the kind of character you can tell it with. Don't get me wrong. Him being so blindsided, blinded by his rage that he kind of costs Cody, because I don't care about Cody. I'm here for my business. I get that. That works with Jacob Fatu's character, but are we at risk? We'll have to see. That is, again, sadly, the match I'm probably least looking forward to, even though it come out of one of the, I was going to say best moments of the year. We've only just started the year, but best moments in recent months at least. Drew McIntyre winning the title, but and look, 2 big stars. You look at the graphics. This is a big match, but it's just, okay. So I hope the story they tell is an interesting one, and it isn't just a one and done to kind of get them away from the title picture before just shoving them back in anyway. Let's move on to something that really heavily does involve the title, though, and of course that is the number 1 contendership for the WWE Undisputed title. Don't know why they're still calling it Undisputed, because there is a dispute now, because there is a World Heavyweight Championship, but hey, that's a rant for another day. But main event surely is the Fatal 4-Way. Now this one's really, really interesting, because there are several stories here you could tell. And again, it depends on, is this a Royal Rumble one and done, or is this a Royal Rumble the person doesn't win and tries to go further and something happens at the Chamber or WrestleMania? Is this the person does win and they are the person walking into WrestleMania as champion? So let's start from WrestleMania and let's work backwards. If we could see any of these guys going into WrestleMania as WWE champion. Now, the first one we're going to tick off the list there is Tricky. Now, I'm loving what Trick Williams is doing, but look, let's be honest, he's not going to be going into as champion. I'm not saying he might not win this match. Well, I probably will say that, but I'm not saying that at the moment. I'm just talking about whether or not they could walk into WWE WrestleMania as champ. Trick Williams is not going to do that. Damian Priest is not going to do that. Sami Zayn might do that, and Randy Orton might do that. So if we work from WrestleMania, there are only 2 possible winners here. But if we go into, all right, well, they win at Rumble, but they don't go into WrestleMania as champion. So they become champ, but they don't go into WrestleMania as champ. Who do we say is out then? I'd go with the same. Damian Priest, I don't see him winning the title. Trick Williams, don't see winning the title. Maybe Randy, maybe Sami. And now let's work even further back and let's just say, look, who's going to win this match if it just is a title shot at Royal Rumble and that person does not win and does not go into WrestleMania as champion? Could I see that being Trick Williams having a one and done? Maybe, but it seems a bit of a wasted story. Could it be Damian Priest? Again, maybe even more likely because he's been there and done it in some sense because he's held the World Heavyweight Championship. But again, I think it's clouding the busy period where they don't need kind of clouding. Now, Randy Orton's interesting because he's Randy Orton. He's a massive star. But it only really makes sense for me if it's a heel, which it is at the moment, Drew McIntyre, or Cody Rhodes. And it only makes sense if he turns on Cody Rhodes. And that doesn't seem necessary at the moment. Although he's continually said, I'm coming after the title. We're mates, but I'm coming after it. So, you know, when he does turn, it'll be, I told you, mate. But now he ain't even got the belt on Cody. So that really only leaves me with one person. And that is the person I want to win this match. And that is Sami Zayn. Now, I want him to win it for many reasons, you know. But ultimately, I want him to become champion. Now, I'm just going to go with fantasy booking and what I want to see, first of all. But I want him to, best case scenario for me, right? Actually, you know, best case scenario for me originally would have been he won the Rumble in Saudi Arabia and then he went on to WrestleMania and he won the title against a big bad heel. Now, Drew, for me, is that big bad heel and they got great history, great chemistry together as well. So we could check that one off. But will Drew be going in as champion? I really don't know. So he's not in the Royal Rumble. No, sorry. Yeah, he won't be in the Royal Rumble if he wins this match. So in some ways, I think if he loses and wins the Rumble instead, that gives him another opportunities, another story to tell. The story I originally thought they would tell months back when a few of us on this channel were debating whether or not Sami Zayn was going to become champion and what, you know, the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia could look like. So I'm in one mind thinking that. My other kind of way of thinking is that, look, he wins this match and therefore he has the title match in Saudi Arabia, but does he win? Now, if he wins, it's a massive moment, but it feels kind of wasted. I think the story for Sami Zayn is one of climbing and nearly doing it until he finally does it, and it's massive. And look, this story's been bubbling under the surface for a long, long time about whether or not he could be world champion. I still feel like maybe it should have happened at Chamber a few years ago in Montreal. And that's another big factor here as well, that this show, Saturday Night's Main Event, is in Montreal. I mean, look at that. For Sami Zayn, Montreal, Saudi Arabia, and then getting to WrestleMania. And then we've got Chamber in between, of course. But of course, that is the road is mapped out beautifully for him as far as fan reactions. So I think he will win this. It'll be massive. That'll be his moment in Montreal. It'll feel like the Sami train is well and truly on its way. And then at the Rumble, he'll lose because I don't think Drew should be losing yet anyway. Then maybe he wins the Royal Rumble that same night, maybe, or he doesn't, and he finds his way back into a match at WrestleMania through the Elimination Chamber. I'd love it if Sami Zayn was a surprise entry in the Royal Rumble 1 after everybody thinking he'd lost his opportunity. The story there is that Drew says it's one and done, but we've only really got a week. If he wins this week, we've only got a week to say, it's your last chance. I ain't giving you another one. Maybe they even play into he's busy. He won't be in the Rumble. Or you've got that night where Drew stands over him victorious after cheating or something and says, that's it, you're done. You know, your dream's over. You won't be champ. And then he wins at Royal Rumble. But at the same time, do you need the big pop 3 times for Sami? Montreal, like as in the win. Does it need to be a win each time? Well, like Montreal, yes, he doesn't win at the Rumble, but he still wins something. He wins the Rumble, and then he wins at WrestleMania. Does he need all of them? I mean, there is some stepping back there, you know, but is it enough? You know, to set in and build for a few weeks where he thinks he's not going to do it, but then the Chamber, sort of again similar to the Shawn Michaels situation, maybe he finds his way back into the story around Chamber season. But that's my kind of thoughts on what I'd like to see go down. Again, a lot of that touches on Royal Rumble, and we will be diving into the Rumble further as we get closer to the Royal Rumble itself. But let me know what you think is going to happen at Saturday night's main event. What are you most looking forward to at Saturday night's main event as far as the matches that we've got announced so far? Again, if you're watching live, we appreciate you. We've only got 3 matches at the moment. If you're watching on demand, you might know of a 4th or maybe even a 5th. Who knows? And if I haven't covered that, apologies. I will cover it in depth, though, if anything else is announced on the build-up show. So if you're watching live on Friday, subscribe. Make sure you tune in on Saturday night. If you're watching this as part of the replay section on the build-up show, then stay tuned because the build-up will be coming straight after this as well. What am I talking about with the build-up show? Well, it's the show to get you guys and us hyped up and in the mood for the big event. What we do is we talk last-minute rumors and things like that, and we just get us all hyped up and motivated for Saturday night's big show. This, though, has been your Friday night's big preview, and I really do appreciate you watching, again, whether it's been live or on demand. Keep your comments coming as well. If you're watching on demand, I'd love to hear what you thought of this show, and again, what you look forward to seeing at Saturday night's main event. For me, again, the big stories coming out of this one are going to surround the WWE Championship title picture. I don't see, again, just to recap, Damian Priest or Trick Williams becoming number 1 contender or champion. It's a chance as Randy Orton, I think, is most likely to be Sami Zayn. That match itself, I think, is going to be a really fun one. I'm so happy seeing Trick Williams do well. By the way, he got great reception, of course, in London just a few weeks back. And I think his transition to the main roster has gone beautifully so far. Of course, Randy Orton's in that match, and he's had a bit of a back and forth with Randy, as he has with a few stars on the SmackDown roster as well. So it'd be interesting to see if that's maybe where they go instead with Trick Williams, because I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, but not just in the distance, but like in maybe WrestleMania season as well. So be interested to see what they do with Trick Williams there. Again, just recapping on some of the other predictions as well. Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. Again, not for the WWE Championship, not for the WWE Championship's number 1 contendership, but just for a little bit of pride, a little bit of anger. It's a grudge match, right? So Cody Rhodes maybe losing again here. Again, that's my prediction. I've gone for Jacob Fatu winning, so that Cody goes on a bit of a losing streak, gets a little bit cocky, and thinks he's going to win the Rumble. It doesn't quite work out for him. Now, does that work out for my Sami Zayn storyline? Is Sami going to be the one that throws out Cody Rhodes? I'm not quite sure about that, but I do think there is a story to tell there with Cody Rhodes. They could get tempted by the idea of a three-peat, though, and maybe that's what we will see. But look, for Saturday night's main event, I think Jacob Fatu probably should win, to be honest. Like, Cody could probably take that loss. Then again, just to recap, as we started our stream earlier on, we were talking about the Women's Tag Team Championship, again, talking about how this could lead into bigger storylines going forward. Rhea and Rhiyo, the champions, of course, going up against the girls from the Judgment Day. We've got Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez this time representing the Judgment Day, and I think they will not pick up the victory. I think the champions are going to retain. They've only not long had the titles. Will we see Asuka and Kairi get involved? I mean, there are a few other kind of teams in and around this story as well. So there's a chance that it leads into something at Royal Rumble. Again, this is what makes it really difficult this time of year, where we don't really know what's going on at the Royal Rumble. I mean, let me look at the Royal Rumble card at the moment. At time of recording, again, some stuff might be made on SmackDown just after this, but at the moment, what do we have for the Royal Rumble? We've got the Men's Rumble match, the Women's Rumble match, Drew versus whoever wins this, AJ Styles versus Gunther. Now, don't get me wrong, that's only 4 matches, and most of these PLEs have a theme, so like Spice's War Games, Money in the Bank, I think the Chamber and Royal Rumble tend to only have 4 matches on the card, so that could be it anyway. Maybe that's why there's nothing else to promote. This is kind of like a double PLE, like when they had All In and All Out. Maybe it's a little bit like that. WWE could see these Saturday night main events as a little bit like that, and they do bleed into each other a little bit, almost like a night 1, night 2 of WrestleMania, if you will. But hey, look, eventually we're going to end up having 2 night Royal Rumbles, SummerSlams, as far as is, in my opinion. But that's another conversation for another day. But speaking of another day, again, please join us on the build-up show on Saturday night as we hype ourselves and you guys for the big PLE. I say PLE again, it's not quite a PLE technically. It is Saturday night's main event, a fun show, hopefully, anyway, even if it's not technically a PLE. But this has been your Friday night's big preview. And again, thank you so much for joining me, guys. It's been a real pleasure. Always fun to jump on these on Friday evenings and kind of get you guys in the mood for the big weekend. It's certainly helped me get excited for it as well. But anyway, I've been Scott. This has been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.